We've been talking in the aftermath of this about what the rest of this complete strategy looks like, and this is a concern that you have as well, because just taking a look at this tweet, I should say, from an Arab Spring activist, Iyad al-Baghdadi, on Twitter, and he says, we want a ceasefire, we want an NFZ, we want all the foreign fighters out, an engagement, a political transition plan, a war crimes tribunal. What we're getting is bombs. So where does the US administration go from here, and do they have a responsibility to come up with a more complete strategy?
Yeah, so I've called for airstrikes against the Assad regime for several years now, and I was quite critical of Obama for not doing so. But I'm also concerned about this notion of doing something just for the sake of doing something, that Trump feels he needs to save face or to show strength and to punish Assad. But after you punish Assad, what happens next? And the main problem in Syria is not chemical weapons. Hundreds of times more people have been killed by conventional weapons. So the issue really, in my view, is how do you address Assad's brutality, which has destabilized Syria and much of the Middle East. And I worry that it's still too early to tell. We don't know what Trump's vision is. We haven't actually heard what the strategy is. But you have to have a plan for the day after, and it has to contribute to a larger strategic vision. So the question for me would be, how does this contribute to ending the Syrian civil war? Does this force Assad to negotiate in good faith and to make real compromises with the opposition? Does this shift the balance on the battlefield? Does this strengthen mainstream rebels and give them a boost so they're able to capture and hold territory? We don't know the answers to any of those questions yet.
Shadi, do you think this moves us a little bit closer towards a resolution? Because, Assad has, to be frank, been pretty belligerent. And this is also something that's been going on for a number of years now, even the humanitarian side of things. So, where do we go from here? And also, why have we seen this response now from the US president?
Well, what's so striking is that Trump has really done a 180. As recently as just a week ago, senior U.S. officials were talking about coming to terms with Assad as a reality and withdrawing this demand that he stepped down. And I think a lot of us were very troubled by that the U.S. is essentially, in a sense, legitimizing one of the most brutal dictators of our time. For Trump to switch this quickly and do something Obama never did over the course of 5 years of his term in office is really in some ways unprecedented. And now people are criticizing Trump for being a flip-flopper, for not being coherent, and I think that's fair. He's not obviously a deep thinker on foreign policy, but what Trump said is that he is flexible, that he's able to change his views depending on changing facts on the ground. I think that's actually in some ways a positive thing, that based on the fact that he's moved by these images, he's felt a need to revise his position and to have a different approach. And I'm confused why there's a lot of criticism of that, because that's what we want from any leader, to be adaptable, to be flexible, and to not be so stubborn in one particular view, even when that view is failing. So what I would argue is that with Obama's approach on Syria stayed very consistent, but it also wasn't successful, and there wasn't ever a real recalibration.